Testimony continued today in the most notorious criminal trial in Richland County. Dr. John Boyle is accused of killing his wife Maureen and burying her body.
The 12-year-old son finally took the stand.
Boyd confidently told the jury it was his decision to testify against his father.
I heard a scream. I heard a thud. It was about this loud.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty.
I decided at an early age that our trauma should not be what defines us. It's what we choose to do with it that does. I'm here to share my unique perspective on true crime, mental health, society, and popular culture, and always with a slight sense of humor. I'm Collier Landry, and welcome to my show. Mover Nation, what's going on? What's going on? Hey, happy Tuesday, I suppose. Is it Tuesday? The week has been flying by, or maybe not. I don't know. What does that tell you? I'm not sure. Got to fix the tripod here. Welcome everybody. Another episode. So this Diddy indictment was unsealed. We covered it last night. And by the way, thank you for joining wherever you may be and however you may be listening. Thanks for making me a part of your day, listening or watching. That is, because this is YouTube. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, so the Diddy indictment was unsealed this morning. I'm 3 hours behind here on the West Coast, so we're a little slow on the uptake. But need more coffee over here. And it's like 10 o'clock. Come on, Collier, get it together. But we're gonna go over this. Multiple news media outlets are reporting this. We're gonna get into it. I am going to adjust my other computer. New episode of the podcast came out this morning as well. If you are listening to the audio version, and I hope you are, I hope you double dip for me. I appreciate those numbers. It helps keep the lights on. By the way, in the show notes, the holidays are upon us. And one of the ways that you guys always ask, hey, how can we support the show? How can we support what you're doing? I can't afford to, join the membership, or I can't afford to do this. Look, the largest shopping network in the world, Amazon, you can use my Amazon referral link. Share it with everyone. You can use my Amazon store. It costs you nothing. And I get a small, very, very small percentage. But if it's a lot of people that use the shopping link, it ends up being pretty decent. And it's one way that you can support the show, contribute, and not pay a dime. Just buy the things you normally buy. You use that link, share it with all your friends. And I get a little small affiliate commission as an Amazon influencer. Or Amazon affiliate. So I want to remind you guys about that because I don't talk about that often enough. And a lot of you ask me like, hey, I really want to help you out. So I was up late last night redesigning my website too. So we're trying to get that going. There's so much going on. For those of you that don't know, I'm going to be on Soft White Underbelly in about a week and a half. So we're kind of prepping up to leading up to that. And I'm supposed to be live on Instagram here soon. And but we'll hear live on YouTube. And if you found me from Instagram, thank you so much for being here. And all the things, as we like to say. My hair is still wet. We got to figure out what's going on with this hair. So, as you guys know, I've been covering the Diddy thing for a while. And last night, I got a text from one of our good old faithfuls. Cat Loves Catskills said, hey, did you see he was arrested? I'm like, no, I was just sitting here I did a new channel banner. If you guys saw it, check it out. I'm trying out some new color schemes, a little bit more demure, a little bit more mindful. We're trying these new color schemes. So check me out on Soft White Underbelly. That comes out on September 28th, which is my mother's birthday. So it's kind of paying a little homage to her. And the like. So I'm going to multiple media outlets are reporting this. The indictment was unsealed. It was sealed last night. It's been unsealed. Now we can see what he was charged with, which is a bunch of stuff. I mean, we all kind of knew what he was going to be charged with anyways. We're not living under a rock over here on the Collier Landry Show. And Mover Nation, you guys are not living under a rock. We are all very well aware of what's happening. Alas, it was unsealed. We're going to get into it. Let me pull that up right now. I have so many tabs open. Do you guys ever have your tabs open, like multiple tabs open at multiple times on your computer, and it creates chaos? I have a friend of mine, and she probably has 150 tabs open on her Google browser. It gives me Google Chrome. It gives me anxiety just looking at her computer, and she never closes them. I don't know how her computer even functions. It does. Skip to my Lou. More classic Chanel type. What were we talking about? Chanel? Yeah, please buy some Chanel using my Amazon affiliate link. Please do. I actually probably don't get any commission for that because it's a luxury goods. And if you feel like sending any luxury goods, especially for little Marisol, who's on her little vacation right now. Oh, that's nope. Oh, the light isn't on. Oh, come on. Call it here. Get it together, man. Get it together. There we go. Trying to make this a little more studio look. There we go. I like that lighting much better. As you guys know, I'm a cinematographer, so So Mark Taida, who is the owner of Soft White Underbelly, lives right down the street from me, or works, not lives. Well, I'm assuming he lives too. He lives right here in Santa Monica, or works right here in Santa Monica. It's really cool. Right by Earth Cafe and all that stuff. Pressed Juicery, places like that. We're not here to talk about browser tabs. We're not here to talk about Amazon affiliate links. What we are here to talk about is P. Diddy, the indictment being unsealed. Let's see what the news media outlets have to say. Our traditional news media, which comes under fire a lot of times, but our traditional news media has definitely come through on this one. So let's go here. By the way, for those of you who are paying attention to the Donna Adelson trial, apparently there's some issues that are happening. I spoke to Surviving the Survivor this morning, their guy Steve Cohen. He was like, "Hey, there's something big going on." I guess Joel was live this morning talking about it. So some things going on with the Donna Adelson trial, but we're just going to focus on a little Diddy. We're going to do a little Diddy over here and see what's happening. All right. So MSNBC reporting, not my favorite news outlet. I don't like the crazy ones. I don't like the ones that go extreme one way or the other. I like let's just be middle of the road. Let's not go too wild, guys. Let's not go too wild. Here we go. Let's take a listen.
Can we begin with this breaking news that federal indictment against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs was just unsealed, and it lays out multiple charges against him, including racketeering, sex trafficking, transportation to engage in prostitution. Yep. Now, Combs was arrested overnight by federal agents at a Manhattan hotel. He will appear in court this morning. And according to a source familiar with the situation, Combs was caught off guard by the arrest. But it comes after a year's worth of accusations against Combs.
Okay, hold on. Are we surprised he was caught off guard by the arrest? This is a man who's been getting away with this shit for how long now? How many decades? And he's surprised of course he was surprised by the arrest. Of course, probably deep down inside, he knows he's going away. But he's probably, what did I do? I didn't do anything. See, this is the sort of mentality. This is what I talk about when I bring up. If you watch the intro of the story, and look, as I like to say, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a psychologist. I do not work in law enforcement. I'm just a guy who's been through a lot of shit. You watch the intro, you know my story. Dealing with people who are psychopathic or sociopathic or just have these interesting personality styles, as Dr. Romani likes to call them, personality styles, they never think they do anything wrong. So this, for him to be surprised and caught off guard, of course, that makes a lot of sense. By the way, big shout out to our mods. Thank you so much, Gen X to the 7th Power. Thank you, Cat Loves Cat Skills. Who else do I see here that's in of course, our tried, true, and faithful Nightbot surveying its fiefdom. Thank you all. Yeah, same old stuff, as we like to say, Amy WC. Yeah, same old stuff. Never underestimate the predictability of stupidity or the predictability of people who have what appear to be some seriously deep-seated issues and are abusive and scumbags.
Many laid out in lawsuits, including.
And I want to say also, just really innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Always innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. However, we all saw the video of him beating and dragging his ex-girlfriend in a hotel in 2016. CNN released that a couple of months back. We all saw that. So we do have visual proof, and that hotel was paid off. So while I don't like to jump to conclusions when someone is charged with allegations, when a video is released of them doing the thing that they said they did not do, there's an issue. And then they settled that lawsuit with Cassie Ventura within inside of one day to keep everything quiet. So again, this is the major start to all the dominoes falling. If you watch last night's live, there's some great videos that I will point to in this chat as well. My interview with Sunny Slaughter. She talks a little bit more in depth about this. A few of you have asked me to kind of sort of parse out that information, which I will do on this channel later today. We'll have that going as well. And, but yeah, innocent until proven guilty. However, we got you on tape, dude. So, it is, and you denied doing what we saw you do on tape in a hotel to a woman, to a defenseless woman. And dragging her is the word. The kicking, it's awful video. I'm not going to play it. It's awful.
Including sexual misconduct, sex trafficking, and even distribution of illegal narcotics and firearms. His lawyers said in part he is an imperfect person, but he is not a criminal, and that they will fight these charges with all of his might and the full confidence of his lawyers. Joining us now.
He is not a criminal. However, on tape, caught on tape, which, oh, by the way, sorry, Diddy also, after the fact, admitted that he was on tape because he went on Instagram Live when he was like in Bali or some very just plush island resort saying, oh, I'm just disgusted by my behavior. I have an alcohol problem. I got help. I saw this, just like every other abuser in the book has a story. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll do better. No worry. Oh, I was in a bad spot. How about the bad spot you put everyone else in? But again, there's no accountability with these people. But fortunate for those involved who have been victimized by him, there will be accountability because now he's in federal custody. So that's a big problem.
MSNBC legal correspondent Lisa Rubin, NBC Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley, and defense attorney Misty Maris. All right, Lisa, obviously this was just sealed, a 14-page indictment, a lot in here. What more do we know about the charges and the allegations here?
So, Anna, we know a number of things about the allegations, but I want to highlight a few things for you. One, today's indictment is solely against Sean Combs. But of course, the chief count is a racketeering conspiracy that alleges that Sean Combs used his businesses and a number of people that worked in and around him to essentially facilitate a commercial sex enterprise through which women were trafficked both internationally and interstate to serve his own sexual desires, including by pairing them, once they were plied with drugs he provided, with commercial male sex workers, then watching them and filming them have sexual intercourse with these people, and then to recover, then giving them forced IV fluids in a pattern that lasted between 2009 up through and including 2024. So there's an allegation here about who was involved in this enterprise beyond Sean Combs, and that includes security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and other Combs business employees.
Okay, we're just going to stop it for a second. Up until 2024. 2024. Oh, yeah, that's this year. This is wild. This is absolutely wild. And yes, and honestly, the reason why they take so long is they got to make sure they have an ironclad case. The feds just don't go arrest people willy-nilly. They build a case. They got nothing but time and money and resources on their hands. So the fact that that they've got now, I mean, this racketeering, this is just, it's going to be bad for a lot of people. Let's put it that way.
Employees who are engaged in that pattern that I just referred to with you, which the indictment refers to as a freak off. The other thing I want to tell our viewers is that there is a victim here who's identified as victim one.
Which he would also talk about, by the way, in his rap music, these freak offs. He would talk, I listened to his music. He would talk about things like this. It wasn't hidden. It was in the lyrics of the songs. So, and much like, what is that? The, Young Slime Life YSL trial, which has been going on for 1 million years. I believe it's still going on. Maybe it was mistried. I have no idea. The YSL trials, it was they were using some of these lyrics against the defendant to show their pattern of behavior, which I believe was, things like gun running and trafficking of firearms and narcotics and things like that. I don't think it was anything maybe it was, I don't know. But gangbanging, it was bad, but they used their lyrics against them, which was very interesting. I think that was in the YSL trial. It might not be, might have been in another trial of a rapper. I remember this because they used it. So again, and this is not the first time that Diddy has been in a courtroom, by the way. He was in a courtroom in 2001 where he was acquitted, and Shine Barrows was sent to prison for the kerfuffle that occurred in a Manhattan nightclub. And I believe it was the Limelight, but it might not be the Limelight. Manhattan nightclub, and a firearm was discharged, people were injured, the whole thing. Jennifer Lopez was there at the time. So she's been roped into all this fun stuff as well because they dated for a while. I'm sure she has very interesting things to say about him. Oy vey, what a mess.
There's also
what a mess for the let's not lose sight of this is a mess for him, but screw him. The victims that have had to go through this, but finally it looks like they're getting justice. I mean, I'm sure there must be people who have been victimized by this man, who have been involved in these situations, that are just absolutely elated by the fact that he's finally going to be held accountable for something.
Viewers, is that there is a victim here who's identified as victim 1. There's also a separate victim who's not identified by a victim name and number, who is the victim of that transportation to engage in prostitution count. So there's at least 2 women here that the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York knows about and apparently has interviewed. And the third thing that I would just underscore for you is, in addition to the criminal penalties that Sean Combs could be facing, there are forfeiture allegations, which basically suggest that Sean Combs should give up any and all property, real and personal, that was derived from the proceeds he obtained from this longstanding alleged racketeering conspiracy.
Wow.
So look for the feds to seize property from Sean Combs, and at the end of this case, when and if it reaches its end, to insist that they can seize real property, bank accounts, and otherwise that are obtained for him through this enterprise.
So 3 counts specifically: racketeering conspiracy. Count 2 is sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. Count 3 is transportation to engage in prostitution. And you laid out many of the details and the allegations that back up each of those counts. I do want to read.
This is ugly stuff, guys. Ugly stuff. The racketeering and all this stuff. And for those of you that watch mafia movies growing up, or any Scorsese film really, racketeering is always a common theme in anyone who's going to prison. And New York and New Jersey are the places that have pioneered these laws to go after high profile mobsters. So when you're charged with this type of situation, there's RICO as well. When you're charged under these statutes, it's almost inescapable. So it's a good point. They finally got John Gotti after all.
One quote that is quite disturbing, but I think gives you a greater sense of what was going on here. And it reads, "For decades, Sean Combs, the defendant, abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. To do so, Combs relied on the employees, resources, and influence of the multifaceted business empire that he led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice." So, Lisa, does this mean other people could face charges beyond Sean Combs?
It does, or it means that other people may already be cooperating with prosecutors in their building of a case against Sean Combs. One thing, Anna, that I want to also highlight for you is that this would not be possible without a change in New York civil law called the Adult Survivors Act. That is what allowed people like Cassie Ventura, who is one of Sean Combs' alleged victims, to bring civil lawsuits suing him for their abuse. Many of those allegations undergirded the Southern District of New York's investigation here, and some of those findings find echoes in this criminal indictment. So you see the reverberations of the Me Too movement, empowering women to come forward, sue civilly, and then seeing federal authorities then transform them into some of the details we see in today's indictment.
And let's listen to Sean Combs' lawyer heading into court this morning.
Oh boy, here we go.
This is what we've been expecting since the searches in March. He, to his great credit, he voluntarily came to New York. Not a lot of defendants do that. He came to New York to basically engage the court system and start the case.
So it sounds like, or he implies, that he came here anticipating these charges were going to be happening. Would it make sense that they'd be given a heads up?
It might make sense. A lot of defendants, particularly in cases.
I'll go ahead and weigh in on this. So a friend of mine works for Department of Homeland Security. He's very well aware of that. And he and I were discussing this back in end of May, June, something like that. I can't remember where he was out here. He says, I'll before she even talks, he told me that often they will give their lawyers a heads up to be like, because what they do is they give them an option to turn themselves in, or if they think that they're going to flee the country, normally they want them to turn themselves in. They don't want to have to go arrest them. And so one very key point here in all of this, and this was laid out last night, and this is per my friend, been my friend for 17 years. When they go, they only move to arrest you if they think you're a flight risk. So what happened is they had said to his lawyers, and they're probably going to get into this in a second on MSNBC. They had said to his lawyers, we're going to come and get him on Tuesday. He was aware of being in on Tuesday. The fact that they moved in on a Monday night, and we saw this with Donna Adelson, for example. So Donna Adelson was caught at the airport trying to flee to Vietnam, etc. Right? They caught her. She's like, oh, I don't know what's going on. I mean, I'm talking about this because this trial is going on right now. Jury selection is supposed to start today. We saw the same thing happen with Adelson, with Donna Adelson getting arrested at the airport. So the feds only, and that wasn't by the feds, I believe that was by state law enforcement in the state of Florida. But the thing is that the feds will only move into arrest. They'll allow you to turn yourself in if they think you're going to flee. So there was obviously some sort of tip-off that occurred that he was going to flee, because there's no other way to explain it. And that they just came and grabbed him out of the hotel, because normally they don't. Normally they say, hey, we can turn yourself in. So anyways, hey guys, if you're enjoying this episode, please hit that like button, smash that like button. If you feel so inclined, please drop a super sticker, super chat. I appreciate the support. Join the channel membership. We got great stuff. Our channel, live channel meet and greet is happening at the end of this month, last Saturday of the month, or Sunday of the month. September 29th will be our live channel meet and greet. Everybody gets to meet each other. It's very cool. If you are a Patreon supporter or a YouTube channel member on the membership page, you get access to that at all levels. So please join us. It's a lot of fun, because I don't even talk. You guys just talk and get to know each other. It's a lot of fun. So we do that. That'll be at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern time on September 29th. Join the channel, join the Patreon. You get access to that. Anyways, Cat Williams and 50 Cent have both been trying to expose him for years. That is absolutely right, Brenda Redmond. That is absolutely right. 50 Cent has been talking about this. 50 Cent has been talking about this forever. I love 50 Cent. Up in the Club, still one of my favorite bangers of all time. Yeah, dude's been talking about this for a while. Because that's the thing, is that a lot of people who are professional musicians who are in the rap industry, do not want to see this happening, because it's bad for them. It's bad. It's bad for business. It's inhumane to start with. It's inhumane. There's much better ways to treat people. And by the way, 50 Cent is very wealthy himself. He might not be as wealthy as Sean Combs, but he's done very well. And you haven't heard much of his legal troubles, if any, at all. So there are good people who are in the hip hop industry who have been trying to expose this asshole for a long time, and who have done it the right way, worked hard, invested intelligently, and been good people. Marie Hathaway, thank you so much for the super sticker. I greatly appreciate it. Amy WC, thank you so much for the super chat. I greatly appreciate it. You guys are awesome. And yes, Up in the Club. He invested in Smart Water. which I don't know if you guys ever drank Smart Water. It doesn't, no, not Smart Water. I'm sorry. Vitamin Water. Vitamin Water was his brand. The Triple X. I used to drink the Triple X berry. It's got a lot of sugar in it. I can't do it, but love the product. Fitty, we love you. Anyways, back to MSNBC. Let's see what they have to say. That's my 2 cents, not my 50 cents. That's my 2 cents on this. But again, the feds came after him because it was big that he was probably going to flee the country because they don't normally do that. I need a new footrest for under my desk. I should finally put together that wish list y'all been asking about.
Like this would rather surrender voluntarily.
Happening, it's like, or he implies that he came here anticipating these charges were going to be happening. Would it make sense that they'd be given a heads up?
It might make sense. A lot of defendants, particularly in cases like this, would rather surrender voluntarily and avoid being arrested and cuffed in a public situation and then perp walked, so to speak, through a federal courthouse. It may be that Sean Combs and his lawyers understood that this was about to happen, and therefore they arranged for a more quiet, voluntary arrest. That having been said, Mark Agnifilo, who's the lawyer who you just showed, when he says these are the charges we expected, I can't imagine that even the best criminal defense attorney could have expected the broad panoply of allegations in this indictment, which is one of the most hideous criminal instruments I have ever seen.
I love this. You guys know I'm a wordsmith. The broad panoply. I love that. Word of the day, panoply. I'll put the definition in the description.
In my years of being a lawyer and also working on this network as a correspondent.
And Julia, I am struck by the fact that it was Homeland Security investigations that carried out the arrest last night, according to WNBC, our local affiliate here in New York. What does that suggest?
Yes, it was Homeland Security investigations. It was also Homeland Security investigations that earlier this year in March conducted warrants that they got from the Southern District of New York to seize electronics from his properties in Miami and Los Angeles. And at the time, I would go to sources, it falls within Department of Homeland Security, and say, why is this HSI, not FBI? Well, HSI does a lot with human trafficking. And also this international element was coming up. This was a big question we weren't able to answer until right now when this indictment was unsealed. And that's the fact that there's an international component that Lisa talked about, that the trafficking was not just interstate, that there were people coming in from outside of the country. And that's something we might hear of more, when prosecutors bring this forward, as we hear of how he did this. Another thing I wanted to point out was the narcotics piece. Mm-hmm. I spoke to a former HSI agent just this morning who talked about trafficking. The definition is using force, fraud, or coercion. And very often that is through narcotics. You can get someone addicted to drugs. You can find someone who's
yeah, and there's the rub. You're getting them hooked on narcotics and then abusing them. That's, as we know, behavior that we would consider beyond the pale, to say the least.
Addicted to drugs and completely manipulate their behavior and keep them coming. There were other ways he also used force, fraud, and coercion, not only just getting people into an altered state to perform these sexual acts, but also by tracking their whereabouts, by controlling their careers, their finances.
So one of the things that my friend in Homeland, when we were discussing this, as I said, back in May, June, is we were at this very famous director's house, and he was like, well, really, what is trafficking? Like, what does it mean to him? So one of the things that they do, and again, not a lawyer, not a psychologist, and I do not work in law enforcement, just a guy who's been through a lot of shit. Watch the intro. He was asking very attentively, like, I don't really understand what that means to be trafficked. And he said, look, when they bring these girls or boys or men or women or whoever, these people, they come into the fold of these abusers. What they do is they take things like their ID, their credit cards, their money, their passports, and they seize them. They put them in a vault or whatever, and they don't allow them access to that. Now, for anyone that's ever struggled with dealing with anything in this country, especially if you might not be from this country, or you might be new to this country, or you might be on, let's say, a green card or a visa or a travel visa, not even a work visa, those documents are extremely important to your survival here in the United States. So when they seize these instruments from these individuals, they're holding them hostage in a way. And that's where the trafficking stuff comes in. Again, this is my understanding of it from speaking to the feds. As I said, my friend's a federal agent. Again, if you guys are liking this video, please smash that like button, guys. Please, it helps with the algorithm. It helps bring the show to the forefront, making some changes here on the channel. Check out the new channel banner. Let me know what you think of the new channel banner, by the way. We're adjusting the color schemes, making it a little, as I said, a little more demure, a little more mindful. Selecting a new color palette. It's very demure, very mindful. But in all seriousness, when they take their documents, when they seize their items, when they don't allow them access to cash or credit cards or any sort of access to the outside world, even to be able to go anywhere, and especially you've got to think about where Diddy's homes were. They were in places like Miami, huge immigrant population, huge migrant population, huge, lots of Cubans, lots of, Puerto Ricans are obviously part of the United States, but lots of people coming in from different countries. It's a very transient city. Places like New York, same thing. LA, same thing. You get people that come in this country and then they're held hostage. It's a big problem. And we know this is a big problem because it's a big part of the current political race is discussion about immigration. But when they essentially take their papers and they're held hostage, and then they like, okay, you've got to do X, Y, and Z horrific thing. You've got to take X, Y, and Z drug. You've got to take this. That's where this abuse and this racketeering and this trafficking comes into play, because they manipulate these people by controlling them in such a way. It's not even coercive control. It's just full on control. To be in control of these people, it's full on control, and it's horrible. It's horrible. Anyways, back to MSNBC. Oh.
You had people who would come in and use sexual acts, but also by tracking them coming. There were other ways he also used force, fraud, and coercion, not only just getting people into an altered state to perform these sexual acts, but also by tracking their whereabouts, by controlling their careers, their finances. He had people who would come in and use these videos that people, they were videotaped in these sexual acts they didn't know about, and they would use those as blackmail. So time.
This is a great graphic. I'm going to make this full screen for you guys. Look at that. That's just wild. That's just and very unfortunate too.
Time and time again, you see how he uses force, fraud, and coercion really in a psychological way to keep these victims on the hook. That's something that HSI was tracking from the very beginning. And like Lisa points out, came to light because of the allegations from former sexual partners of Combs.
And Misty, what's your reaction to what we're learning in this indictment?
First of all, these horrible allegations, but something that I want to focus and emphasize is that we're talking about videotapes referenced in this indictment. And we know that Diddy's homes were raided. So it's likely to be the electronic footprint here is going to be central to the prosecution's case and is likely to be significant and evidence that's going to help the prosecution as this case pushes forward. Remember, once those electronic devices are obtained by the government, they're searched. That could lead to additional searches. That could lead to speaking to certain potential victims or witnesses or others who are involved in the criminal enterprise. As Lisa said, there's others who are referenced, but we have not been indicted. Maybe they're cooperating. We don't know. But those electronics and what was obtained, especially in light of what was just pointed out, that much of the force, fraud, and coercion that was used to keep these individuals in Diddy's sphere was related to electronic videotapes and other electronic evidence that was obtained. So that is certainly going to be something that's going to move the needle forward for the prosecution.
And according to this indictment, among the things they seized at his properties when they conducted that search warrant in March of this year at his Miami property, his Los Angeles, California property, they say They seized firearms and ammunition, including 3 AR-15s with defaced serial numbers, as well as a drum magazine. The defaced serial numbers,
Not a good
Misty,
look.
catches my eye. Does that suggest other charges, perhaps gun charges, could be coming, or is that already weaved into this indictment?
So this is all part of that criminal enterprise relating to basically, there's a meeting of the minds between these conspirators to engage in criminal conduct. But certainly there could be other gun-related charges that could come down the pike against Diddy or others that were involved, especially when you're talking about the amount of firearms referenced and the fact that serial numbers were scratched off. There's specific charges relating to those. So certainly that could be something that comes down the road.
His lawyers hope he would be released ahead of his next court appearance, Misty, because he voluntarily came to New York, as they described it, and they try to, paint this picture of someone who's cooperating with investigators or with prosecution here. Is it likely that he would be released?
That's going to be central to the argument. The factors that the judge takes into consideration is somebody a flight risk. What is the nature of the allegations? Is there a prior criminal record? Certainly, I believe that his lawyers strategically presented him to say, you don't have anything to worry about, Judge. He's going to appear for these conferences moving forward. He's not a flight risk. And that's going to be central to their argument. Whether or not he gets released is very much in the judge's discretion. With the severity of these allegations, it's possible he could be held.
That'd be great. As he should be. As he should be. All right. I'm going to stop sharing that. We don't need to get into any pets. Yeah, just a terrible. Oh, here we go. The AP is watching. I'm probably going to get dinged for this by YouTube, but we'll watch this anyways. This is the Associated Press. There's a press conference. I'm going to scroll through this. I'll just actually put this up on the screen so y'all can see it. This is what I'm looking at. Oh boy. Oh boy. Wow. Firearms. Let's see.
As alleged in the indictment, to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity.
Wow.
Including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice. Let me say a little bit more about the charges. The indictment alleges that Combs abused and exploited women and other people for years, and in a variety of ways. As alleged, when Combs didn't get his way, he was violent, and he subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse so that they would participate in the freak-offs, and that Combs hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair. On one occasion in March of 2016, that conduct was captured on video and later reported in the media. Specifically, Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a victim in a Los Angeles hotel when the victim was attempting to flee.
And that was Cassie Ventura. If you guys saw that video, that was when they were in the hotel. That was the hotel video that surfaced out of the blue by CNN in May, June, something like that, May. And then, of course, Diddy went on to Instagram and issued a faux apology, as we like to call it, the faux apology. I was wrong. I was in a dark place. Which reminds me of like my dad when I was interviewing him in my film of Murder in Mansfield. When I asked him why he did what he did, I was in a dark place. I said those things. I was just in it. It's always the woe is me, poor me. These people have no concern And look, as you know, Sean Diddy Combs is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. However, we have video evidence of this happening, which is what this attorney from the Southern District of New York is alleging, is alluding to. There is actual footage from a hotel of him doing this to Cassie Ventura. And she sued him, as we all know, last November. It was settled within 1 day. Ooh, big surprise. So, yeah. Anyways, guys, please smash the like button. It really, really helps with the show. Please, I cannot stress that enough. Hit that like button. I don't know what we're up to likewise. We got 92 people on here. We've had over 100. Hopefully, we can get well over 100 likes. Let me see. I'm gonna go check on it right now. I'll let this gentleman play as well. Let's see here. No, I lost it. Oh, come on, Collier. You're better than this. There we go.
As alleged, these assaults often resulted in injuries to the victims, which took days or weeks to heal. In addition to the violence, the indictment alleges that Combs threatened and coerced victims to get them to participate in the freak-offs. He used the embarrassing and sensitive recordings he made of the freak-offs as collateral.
84 likes. Let's get over 100, guys. Let's get 100.
The indictment alleges that he maintained control over the victims in several ways, including by giving them drugs, by giving and threatening to take away financial support or housing, by promising them career opportunities, by monitoring their whereabouts, and even by dictating their physical appearance. Because of all of this, the indictment alleges that the victims did not believe they could refuse Combs without risking their security or facing more abuse. The indictment also alleges other acts of violence undertaken by Combs and others, including violence against witnesses to his abuse, kidnapping, and arson. The indictment alleges that on more than one occasion, Combs carried or brandished firearms to intimidate and threaten victims and witnesses. Now, Combs did not do this all on his own. As I mentioned, Combs has been charged with RICO conspiracy. He used his business and employees of that business and other close associates to get his way. Those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff. The indictment alleges that those individuals facilitated the freak-offs. They booked the hotel rooms and stocked them with the supplies.
Welcome, Rhiannon.
Including drugs, baby oil, personal lubricant, extra linens, and lighting. When the hotel rooms got damaged, they helped clean it up. They arranged for victims and commercial sex workers to travel for the freak-offs, and they delivered large quantities of cash to Combs to pay for the commercial sex workers. The indictment also alleges that they helped Combs cover up his crimes. During the March 2016 incident at the LA hotel that I mentioned earlier, a member of the hotel security staff intervened, and Combs attempted to bribe the staff member with a stack of cash to make sure that what happened was kept quiet. And as the indictment alleges, in late 2023, after public allegations were made about Combs's crimes, he and others pressured witnesses and victims to stay silent, including by making phone calls to witnesses and victims and giving them a false narrative of what they had experienced. And as alleged, Combs used others to help conceal his abuse by monitoring and preventing victims from leaving a location in order to hide their injuries, or by locating and contacting a victim who had attempted to flee. As part of this investigation, in March of this year, special agents from HSI executed search warrants at Combs's residences in Miami and Los Angeles. They also executed a warrant for Combs's electronic devices. During those searches, agents seized evidence of the crimes charged in this indictment. They seized firearms and ammunition, including 3 defaced AR-15s and a large capacity drum magazine. They also seized evidence of the freak-offs, electronic devices that contain images and videos of the freak-offs with multiple victims. And they seized cases and cases of the kinds of personal lubricant and baby oil that Combs' staff allegedly used to stock hotel rooms for the freak-offs, more than 1,000 bottles altogether. Another picture of more ammunition and parts of 2 AR-15s right there.
Gun charges too.
I want to be clear about 2 things. First, anyone with information can call 1-877-4-HSI-TIP. I want to express my deep appreciation for the victims and witnesses who have used their voices and helped bring this criminal conduct to light. We would not be here without them. I also want to thank the dedicated case agents on the HSI Trafficking in Person Squad in New York. They have been with us since day one and have worked tirelessly on this investigation. They will continue to be invaluable partners to us. I also want to thank the incredible agents and analysts from SDNY who have also provided tremendous assistance on this case. I'm deeply grateful for their continued work. And finally, I want to thank the outstanding career prosecutors from SDNY who are handling this case. Meredith Foster, Emily Johnson, Chrissy Slavic, Madison Smizer, and Mitzi Steiner, and their supervisors, Jamie Backleiter and Jacqueline Kelly. They are members of the Civil Rights Unit in our criminal division. We created the Civil Rights Unit when I became U.S. Attorney. I'm deeply proud of their work on this and so many other cases. I'll now take some questions.
Eric Katursky, ABC.
Thanks, Damian, thanks. And hedonistic abuse that you say was recurrent and widely known. Why did it take law enforcement so long to intervene? How many women were victimized by Sean Combs and how many others were involved?
Look, our investigation is ongoing. We are committed to bringing justice to everyone who's been victimized by the defendant. I can't tell you why it took so long. I think the better focus is on the fact that we are here today. And we are committed to making sure that justice is done. Next question.
Julia Ainsley, NBC.
Thank you for doing this. You said we are not done and that Combs did not do this alone. Do you foresee that there could be other charges related to this case?
I'm not taking anything off the table.
Janet Fisher, Newsday.
What's the difference between the sex trafficking and promoting travel for the purpose of prostitution?
Well, there are different crimes with different elements. I don't think we should get into the nitty gritty of the legal discussion right now.
YouTube Live as well.
The sex trafficking, we believe, they're all serious offenses, but the sex trafficking conduct carries some significant penalties, and we are gratified that we were able to bring that charge.
One more coercive than the other?
Hi, Maria Hathaway.
I'm not going to be able to get into that, but you can look it up. And yes, sex trafficking, especially when it involves coercion or force, is a very serious crime, and it carries significant penalties.
Good afternoon, Darla Miles, ABC7 New York. Thank you for this press conference and for the details. 2 questions. In context of this indictment and the information that was presented to the grand jury, are you able to clarify the number of victims? It's mentioned plural in the indictment, but can you specify the number of victims just for this particular indictment? And secondly, can you provide details about the alleged arson?
Unfortunately, I'm not able to provide either. The number of victims, you are correct. We are intentional in saying multiple. The details of the arson incident are limited to what we have in the indictment and also the detention letter that we filed, which contains more details than the indictment does at various points. But we don't have anything more beyond that. Next question.
Lynn Tran, CNN.
Are any of his accomplices or associates under investigation? And additionally, could he face any more charges?
So the investigation is ongoing. That means both as to him and to anyone else who we believe committed the crime with him. Next question.
Juliet Papa.
Hi, good morning from 1010 Wins. Any indication that some of the women or victims here were imprisoned in his residences, and did he have locations where he kept them and were not allowed to leave? And also, he's indicted here, although there were searches and raids in LA, Miami. Why in New York?
Well, I'm biased. I'm the U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of New York. I think that we have an outstanding track record of bringing some of the most impactful, sprawling, complex, difficult sex trafficking, human trafficking, labor trafficking, you name it, the Southern District of New York can do it. And so we're very proud of that. And so the scope and complexity of this investigation isn't something that we ran from, it's something that we embrace, and we will continue to do that. As to your question about whether he imprisoned anyone, all I can say is that, I mentioned this March 2016 incident where something was caught on video where a victim was attempting to flee, and there was violence that was associated with it.
Was that at the residence or a hotel?
That was at a hotel.
Yes, guys, I was intentionally muted because I was talking to the
Does
Instagram
your office
audience
intend to
joining us
seek
right
remand,
here.
or are you reaching a bill
as well.
package? And if you're
So I was
willing, how
talking
would
to
you
them.
contrast this with the R. Kelly?
I'm not going to be able to expand beyond what's in the letter, but it contains all of the reasoning, and it contains the law as well. There is a presumption of detention in a case like this, and we think that's warranted.
John Anise, New York Daily News.
Thank you. I was hoping to get some more detail about the searches of his residence, the guns, the cases of lubricant, and the videos. Where were they found amongst his residence? Were they all scattered around the houses in one place? So I kind of wanted to just get a better picture of how that stuff was found.
Well, look, I think that some of the details that you're seeking are in the detention letter. So, for instance,
So
some
you're
of
just sitting here, we're
the
watching the
AR-15s,
press conference
2 of the 3
about
face AR-15s
Diddy.
were found in his bedroom closet in Miami, broken down into parts, along with magazines, with ammunition loaded in them. So some of that detail is in the detention letter. Beyond that, I'm not going to be able to get into where other items were stored.
Ben Kochman, Post.
Hey, thanks for doing this. Your office was the office that had been prosecuting Jeffrey Epstein before he died in custody. I have not read your detention memo yet. It's the first thing I'm going to do after this ends. But does the memo address, or is your office concerned with Combs's safety in custody, given what happened with Epstein?
So we are concerned with anyone's safety whenever they are detained prior to trial. It's part of our obligations to keep people safe as well. It's part of the criminal justice system. So, but I do not draw any sort of connection between Jeffrey Epstein's suicide and what may or may not happen to any other defendant while they are detained pre-trial. And of course, the decision whether to detain the defendant will be up to a judge. Our position is that pretrial detention is warranted under the law and based on the facts of this case. And I'll leave it at that.
Are some of the prosecutors on this case some of the same prosecutors that had been handling that or that worked on the Maxwell case?
So I'm not going to get into the staffing. I will say that this team, this group of AUSAs, this incredible group has been working on this case around the clock, and they've had their hands full. Next question.
Gus Rosendale, NBC News.
Good morning, sir. Combs' attorney said that his client has been cooperative with investigators. He said that this morning. I was wondering if you would have a reaction to that.
Let me just say this. I think that generally with increasing frequency, the word cooperative or cooperating has taken on tremendous elasticity and it no longer really bears any relation to what the word means when we use it in a very specific context. So responding to lawful process and the like does not qualify as cooperation when we use that term here.
Mike Sisak, AP.
Thanks. To that end, was there any discussion of Mr. Combs surrendering? I understand he was taken into custody at a hotel in Manhattan last night, and maybe that wasn't the plan. Can you elaborate on how that came about and why that was?
I'm not going to be able to get into any sort of operational details as to how he was taken into custody and when. He is in custody right now. He will be appearing in court later today.
Was there any discussion of him surrendering, given they claim he's cooperating?
I'm not going to be able to get into law enforcement tactics or operations. Well, I can't get into the charging decision. It is very meaningful to us that weapons were possessed, as we allege in the indictment. part of the reason why this conduct was so pervasive and harmful was because victims and others didn't necessarily feel comfortable
and didn't feel safe
denying him his wishes, as we allege, because
didn't
of
feel
the
safe
presence of firearms.
He threatened them with firearms.
Thanks. Last question.
And drugged them up.
Jameson.
Jacob Shamsian, Business Insider.
Crazy.
Thank you. Given that he's the sole defendant in this case and that you allege he's part of a conspiracy that involves members of his companies, do you anticipate a superseding indictment that bring allegations against other members of his companies or other co-conspirators as well?
I can't take anything off the table. Anything is possible. Our investigation is very active and ongoing. And I think a lot of you who cover this office know that when we say such things, that developments are certainly foreseeable, but I cannot predict them sitting here today. All right. Thank you, everyone.
All right, there you have it. That is the attorney for the Southern District of New York sharing his take on the charges this morning being released in the charges against Diddy being unsealed, the indictment being unsealed, and him laying out what the indictment actually said for the media. And it's pretty wild. And really unfortunate. How many, Sherry Falls says, I wonder how many people, any famous, will be attached to this? Probably a lot. There's a lot of people that ran around in Sean Diddy Combs circles. It's just, it's massive. There's a bunch of stuff about ready to just, I'm sure lives and reputations will be ruined. But this is what you get for associating with a person who's just absolutely horrific. Absolutely horrific. Apparently, Katie Kool-Lady is reporting. Let's hear what she has to say. Apparently, the case against Donna Adelson, the trial may have been pushed. Let's see here. Little breaking news as well. So something with trials delayed. Court TV is reporting breaking news. Let's bring this in. Breaking news from Court TV. Donna Adelson's murder trial has been pushed. Actually, let's start a new live. Let's go live again. Mover Nation, I'm going to go, we'll put a link here. Let's go back. Let's go back and let's report on this. Let's see what's happening here. I'm on point today, guys. Kids, I've woken up. Well, what happens is you bring somebody else into your life and then they decide to like torpedo it. So you're like, you know what? I'm just going to focus on work. Thanks. So there you have it. That's why I'm here. You'll be seeing a lot more of me. Is what it is. Anyways, is on fire and his hair looks great. Hey, as long as the hair looks great and the shirt looks nice, we'll see. We'll see what's happening. Yeah. So do you guys want me to start a new live or should we discuss the Donna Adelson thing here? What do you guys want? Let's go over and start a new live. I'm gonna go do a new live. Let's do a new live. Yep. New live. New live. Let's do it. I gotta set that up first. Oh, come on. So too many browser tabs. Too many browser tabs open here, guys. All right. Mover Nation, we're gonna go over to a new live in 1 second. I'm just gonna set it up. Let's see. I'm going to put this link here in our live. But it has been delayed. The Florida mastermind murder trial. Florida matriarch Mercer. Oh, come on. All right, Mover Nation. We get through another one. I was trying to put the link to this. Let's see here. So much work all the time doing this. So much. We're going to have this going live in less than 5 minutes. I'm going to put the link to this right here. I got to get it all right first, of course. So much to do. There's a lot to do when you're putting these YouTube lives together, by the way, guys. I know that it probably seems like it's super easy, but it's really not. It takes a very, it takes a lot of work, especially when you're a one-man band over here, as I am. Although we do have some, okay, great. Here we are. Here is the link, guys, to the YouTube live. Mover Nation, we get through another one. I'll see you in less than 5 minutes. Here's the outro. Mover Nation, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much to all my channel members and Patreon supporters. And for more exclusive content, behind the scenes videos, monthly VIP meet and greets and watch parties, please consider supporting me on Patreon or by becoming a YouTube channel member. If you like this video, check out this one right here or this one right here. And don't forget to like and subscribe because it helps with the algorithm. On that note, I'm Collier Landry. I'll see you on the next one. Good girl, Marisol. Good girl.